And so Republican leaders are working now to ratchet down White House expectations. They're hoping the president will be satisfied with some additional funding on border surveillance or security instead. Simply put, Errol, there is no appetite here on Capitol Hill for any fight that could lead to a shutdown.
And Nancy, as you point out, the border wall really is at the center of this spending bill fight. Democrats have described it as a political stunt, and no GOP lawmaker from the 4 border states has even expressed support. Why then is the White House choosing to move forward with these specifics now?
Well, they're looking for a win. This is the week that the president reaches that 100-day milestone. It's highly unlikely at this point that they're going to pass any legislation that would say reverse Obamacare. That failed. They don't have their tax reform legislation ready. So they're looking for something that they can show to his supporters to say, look, you voted us into office and look at all the things we've already done. We have kept our promises. The problem is that Congress is not necessarily on the same timetable as the president. This funding bill only funds the government through the end of September. There isn't as much money to play with as there would be if you were looking, say, at all of fiscal year 2018. Republicans would have more wiggle room in that situation to subtract money from somewhere else to give the president the border wall funding he's looking for. They'd have more time to horse trade with Democrats, but in this situation, they are really under the gun. They have to pass this bill by Friday or pass a short-term extension. And that's why, frankly, Errol, they were a little surprised when they started getting all this pressure from the White House just last week to put this border wall funding into the bill.
Now, it may be then why Democrats seem to have a sense that the White House is bluffing on these demands. Press Secretary Sean Spicer refused to say that, President Trump would veto a bill unless it funds a border wall. So how much leverage does it appear that Democrats have right now?
They can definitely see the writing on the wall, and they see that the White House is not going to go to the mat over this funding. If the White House really had its back up, you'd see the president issuing veto threats. He'd be saying, I'm not signing that funding bill unless it has the border wall funding in it. You'd hear the same kind of language from his advisors. Instead, what you heard from White House Chief of Staff Reince Priebus over the weekend was, look, we think that the Congress understands what we're looking for. We think they're going to give us extra money on border security, and we know that eventually the border wall will get funded and built. So that's not the tone you would hear from a bellicose White House that was saying my way or the highway. They understand that Republicans control the House, the Senate, and the White House, and would most likely get the blame if there were to be a shutdown.
And it's possibly why the administration is characterizing it as border security. That's their priority rather than a border wall funding. And just quickly, Nancy, on the other big issue of the week, potential health care reform, there's no text. It can't be scored as far as costs and its impact on premiums. So how confident is Republican leadership that there will really even be a vote on this front?
They say talks are ongoing. They haven't ruled out the possibility that there could be a vote this week, Errol, but really they're only beginning to be able to take the temperature of their members now that they're coming back into town after a 2-week recess. So they'll spend the next couple of days talking to Republican members, particularly Republicans from that Freedom Caucus who were the most dug in over the Obamacare replacement bill, had the biggest problems with it. And they'll see if now that they've made these tweaks, they've managed to win over more of those Freedom Caucus members without alienating more moderate members. If they can somehow figure out this week that they've got the votes, then they'll go ahead and take a vote in the House. If not, we could be watching negotiations continue for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, we'll see what this week brings. Nancy Cordes joining us on Capitol Hill. Thanks, Nancy.
You're welcome.